Hey there, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Nadia.
Welcome to Navigating New Ground, where we dive into real, honest conversations about navigating life transitions away from home.
We're here to share our journeys, hear yours, and remind you that no one has to navigate new ground alone.
Hey, this is our pilot episode. Woohoo! Nada, shall we start by sharing a little about ourselves and how we came to starting this podcast?
Yeah, sure. I'm Nadia. I am a third culture kid. I grew up in a migrant home in Malaysia with Indonesian parents. I lived in Singapore for a couple of years, and now I've been in Germany for some time. So I've been around and I'm a melting pot. Yeah, so life has been interesting with its own challenges, but yeah, it's been a process of owning my story. And
Okay.
how about you?
I'm Melissa, and I'm a Malaysian Chinese who grew up speaking four languages on a daily basis in a very international background and culturally rich too. And yeah, currently also living in Germany.
Just that we're in different cities now.
Uh, do you actually
Mm,
remember how we met?
the first time we met? No, not at all. I mean, I know that we studied together in Dessau, the small city in East Germany, but the very first time we met, I don't. Do you?
I don't really know, but I'm guessing that is probably from one of our friends' birthday party because that was the very first party that I joined the moment I landed in Germany. One of my housemate brought me along to this party, and I was so surprised to see there are so many Malaysians in this small little town. I was wondering, like, did I even move? Because I just came from Malaysia and then came to Germany and meet all Malaysians in one apartment. I think there were more than 30 of us there,
Yeah,
but it
that's
was
more
really
than.
nice to
Mm,
uh, not yet feel the culture shock then.
that is true. Yeah, a soft landing into the culture. Mm,
Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
but then, okay, so we were in different semesters because you came a year after me, right?
Yeah.
And then we didn't get connected again until we spent Christmas together. I think it was the first time you graduated from our master's course, and then we spent Christmas together with that friend. You remember that?
Yes, yes, yes. I think it was in Munich, and we went
Mm.
ice skating, and
Oh
it was
yes.
nice spending the Christmas together because uh, festive season in a foreign country is always tough. And I,
Yeah.
that time wasn't Corona yet,
Yes.
so
True.
we were lucky enough to be able to travel to this friend's place and just celebrate Christmas together because we couldn't go home at that very holiday season.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
And then Corona came, and then we had such a big pause in between. Then after that, I didn't see you until this year at the wedding.
Yeah, I think we always follow each other's stories and news from our friends. But yeah, to really sit down and talk, I think it wasn't until uh, the wedding, the friend's wedding,
Yeah.
where we both held up. And then also recently, when my trip to Munich, and then we both realized that hey, we are both free at the same time, and then we could go for this really nice brunch that you
Yeah.
recommended. Yeah, and we had this short but really nice talk together.
Yeah. And that's how we ended up here. We decided to start this project together. And yeah, do you want to talk about a little bit about why we are doing this.
Yeah, I think during our conversation at that brunch, we were both so, how do I say, been through a season of exhaustion. Can I say that? It was a whole season of really tired, stressed out, and overwhelming past few months. Um, Maybe you can share about that later. But at least on throughout our conversation, we realized that there were so many situations where we thought we were alone going through the struggles, but actually, hey, you went through that too, and I went through that too, and we didn't know that you had to go through that alone. While I'm here thinking that, oh, why am I doing this? Why is it so hard? And we couldn't ask anyone about it.
Mm,
So we started talking about so many things, including the isolation when we live abroad, and also the cultural differences. Oh, don't even get started with the doctor appointments.
no.
Yeah, and since we both are in architecture, through the architecture career in this foreign country was also so difficult and challenging.
Mm,
Yeah, so we thought, I think through the conversation, it suddenly just hit us. So many of us, not just the two of us, there are probably many more out there who are going through this alone.
yeah. Yeah, or they feel like they're going through it alone, but actually that's not the truth. And there are so many of us walking similar paths, and it's really nice to be able to come together through this podcast to create a community for the people that are here away from home, living abroad, and also going through similar struggles as us.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I believe it's also not coincidentally that God
Mm,
connected us at this time.
yeah.
Throughout this, what, 7, 8 years, we only met that few distinct. I mean, we meet all the time, but we don't really got close to talk together about things. But at this certain life stations, I would say, these checkpoints of life. And at these seasons, we both are free. We are both free from our job because of different reasons, but we are currently both free at the same time. And we could really start thinking and doing things that we really felt called to do, or
Right.
have the finally had the time to do things we want to do.
Yes, it's true. And it's
Yeah.
been nice. It's been nice that I think the meetings that we've been having to do this project together, it's been helpful for both of us as well, just to have a bit of a rhythm and routine in all of this free time.
So, Nadia, today is our very first episode. So, what is the topic that we want to talk about?
So, like our title, today we are going to talk about how did we find out that it is time for a season of rest? Do you want to tell us a little bit about why you are called to a season of rest?
Um, I think uh, like I mentioned earlier, I feel like so many things have happened in the last few years, especially in 2023. Um, Many incidents has happened, highs and lows, and I realized that I didn't have time to catch my breath and to reflect on all the things that have happened, especially the ones that took up a lot of emotional energy. And for me, I always see my life or plan my life in like 5 years segment. And although now it's not yet the end of the 5 year segment, but it felt to me that it has already reached like the top of the age. And I remember one of my lecturer back in the college days, he once shared about this concept of how to see our brain. He says like the difference being like a really good architect and a bad architect, or not say bad architect, but how to distinguish a really good architect is all of us have our brains are like have memory cards, and everything that we have seen and we have experienced, we save them into our memory cards. And the really good ones, they know how to take out these memories from the memory card and apply them into their designs.
Mm,
And for me, I feel like currently at this moment, my memory card is really full, and I
mm,
think everyone can relate because nowadays we take photos everywhere with our phone and we just keep snapping away, recording videos, and we go
mm.
for this trip and that trip, and then it comes to a point where, oops, memory full. And yeah, I think for me, this it just have arrived at this point where my memory is really full, and I really just need to step back, stop going on trips, stop experiencing really intensive growth, but to slow down and go into reflecting and processing what has happened, because I really need this time. So
Mm,
that's how I felt that, yeah, I just can't process new things anymore at this moment.
mm.
What about you? You were sharing to me earlier in the brunch time that you were actually being forced into this season of rest. How did you come to accept this season of rest?
Yeah, so I did come to this season very differently than you, but there was a lot of peace behind it, I felt, because there were a lot of conversations that I had with God prior to this season starting. And I know that it was a push from Him to just start
Mhm.
this project because I knew for a long time now that that was what He wanted. And thankfully, He sent you also to kick off this project together. So that's been nice. But I think this topic of rest for me started quite a long time ago, I think in 2017. So it's been 7 years now. So 2017 was the year where I felt like I had all of the worst physical symptoms that I could possibly experience. I was going through a lot of health issues, and it was really like my body was screaming at me, telling me that you've been too stressed for too long and now it's time to stop. Um, and I really had to go through a journey, a long, difficult journey of learning to listen to my body and understanding why all of those symptoms came up. So it was really a journey of learning all of the different causes that made my body go to that level, of saying, like, hey, you need to stop now. It's time to take a rest. And so it's been a really long journey of trying to find out what rest means for me. And I think it's still not easy, actually, because you were programmed somehow your entire life to just keep going and keep going. So yeah, yeah, I think it's still an ongoing process for me of learning what rest means for me.
Wow.
But
And
yeah,
you mentioned just now that you have so many health problems. So I'm very curious, what are some of those symptoms that you mentioned earlier? Are they like physical symptoms, like you fall sick or something, or was it emotional symptoms or
so it's a lot of physical symptoms, but also mental and emotional ones too, alongside them. And it started with rashes, skin rashes. I would just get breakouts. And then I was getting a lot more skin problems with acne. Then I started experiencing vertigo and a lot of dizziness and headaches, and also problems with my period. Then I felt like everything was just coming all together at once, at one go. So then if you don't understand how all of these are related, then you think they're all separate problems. So, once you get separate problems, you start going to the gynecologist for your female problem symptoms. And then you go to the, I don't know, neurologist for whatever other symptoms it is that you have, and then somehow not realizing that they might all just be interconnected with one another, and then there's like one source that's causing these symptoms. Yeah. So I was in Germany, and that was when all of the symptoms just started getting worse, one after the other. So the headaches came back. I was experiencing vertigo. Um, my rashes came back, and then I was having a lot of problems with acne. I was really tired a lot, so I would be sleeping 10 hours a night, and then I would still need a nap on that day, and my naps would be like 2 hours long. So, like half of the day I would be asleep. And yeah, I was just very physically exhausted because of all of the symptoms I was going through. And then I think mentally also I was just not at my best. So I was having a really hard time concentrating on things. And now when I look back at that year, I'm really wondering how I managed to get through. Like I was doing my master's, I was still, like pushing myself to get through. But yeah, somehow it went well. But I was really, really just done with all the physical symptoms, and I'd really tried going to doctors. But I think somehow, when you're young and then somehow you look like you're still functioning as a human being, they won't take you seriously. So they will just say, yeah, your symptoms just sound like you're very stressed. So just take it easy. And they don't want to do any tests on you and suggest anything else, or they're not curious that maybe it's all symptoms of something else, like a bigger disease. And it was really hard to not be able to go to doctors and feel like you're being heard, and to go to the specialists that you think could help you in this time, and they're actually not there to help you. Like there's a lack of concern there for everything that you're going through. So it makes you really feel like you're on the journey alone.
I think
And
it's
then,
must be difficult too, right? Because of the language and all.
right, yeah, yeah. So I really had to make the effort to find doctors that would speak English with me, that instead of going to a doctor in the small town that we were in, I tried to find one in Berlin because then they were more open to speaking in English. Yeah, so it was a very long journey, difficult, lonely as well.
I'm
um,
sure that's a lot to talk about because I think we can even make a few episodes about it, health problem,
agree,
and
agree.
perhaps
Yeah.
maybe some episode about which kind of doctor to go to and how do you realize and make appointments and stuff like that.
Mm,
Yeah, wow,
yeah.
must be a really long season of going through ups and downs and just
Yes.
find out
Yeah.
how to rest, really.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm glad now that after figuring out the real source of all of these problems, I had to make a lot of adjustments to my diet. So I'm eating very, very healthily right now. Like all of my food is very clean. And that has been a challenge, of course, for a foodie. But yeah, I think it's just worth it now to feel so much better and so much healthier, even if I don't get to eat everything that I want to eat. Um, yeah. How about you? Do you also notice physical symptoms?
Yeah, I actually a bit different from yours. I don't have much skin problem,
Mm,
but I do also have many physical symptoms. But I have never thought that it could relate to stress or even relate to my what my work have been bringing me in the last month. I really experienced two such distinct symptoms that I couldn't ignore anymore, and that was like
mm,
having chest pain
mm,
on my right side here, and I didn't know that it's due to uh, stress and due to accumulated emotions that have been uh, tied up here because I didn't really find the time to process it, and so everything get bottled up. My body has to create this pain in me to make me realize that I am not in a good position. And then as the pain was more and more distinct, during one of my prayer time with my husband, I actually had a panic attack. I just couldn't stop crying. It was sort of accumulated from the whole
Yeah.
period of time, all the things that has happened. And just because that time we took that Saturday to sit down and just be quiet, that's when my body
Mm,
finally managed to find that small gap to relax. And that's
yes.
when the whole thing poured out. So I couldn't stop crying, and I can't explain why I was crying as well. All I wanted to do was actually just to pray, but no
Mm,
words could come out. It's just all of this wave of emotions, and I couldn't stop crying to a point where I started hyperventilating. And that's when my husband actually said, "Hey, maybe you should really go to the doctor." And that's
yeah.
when it hit me. Wow, this is not something to play around. This is not normal anymore. It's not something that I can just push away and say like, yeah, it's okay. I will get better or what. That's when the time I realized that I need to go to a doctor, and I need to do something about this daily routine. Something
Mm,
somewhere is not right, and I have to figure out the source of it. And then, yeah, and that's how it led to me quitting my job and also coming to this season of rest.
mm. Yeah, that must have not been easy as well to experience that. But thankfully you managed to find a good doctor for that, no?
Yeah, I'm really, really grateful that as I meet this doctor, she was very, very professional. Of course, we spoke in German to throughout the whole process, but she was very helpful in a way that, firstly, my question to myself is always like, how do you even admit that you are not okay? I
Mm,
think since young, I'm not sure how your childhood were, but for me, or at least from my own mindset, I always think that as long as you have the will to do something, you can always you will always find time or energy to do it. And
mm,
I tend to force myself through a lot of things. And so for me, even to admit that for me, even to decide to go to the doctor, it's really, really tough. I actually even like find a lot of reasons, like say, oh, the weather is not good, maybe I shouldn't go to the doctor. Or it's tomorrow, today I have more things to do, and I keep postponing that process. But finally, when I was just seated in the room waiting for my turn, oh wow, then I realized that I really needed this. And
Mm,
she was very professional in a way that when I went in, even when I couldn't say much, her questions was leading me towards sharing more and more. And
mm,
even as I started sharing, she wasn't belittling my conditions. She was very understanding. She gave
yeah,
space for me to share, and also um, she just gave me time to think and process as I shared my situation one by one. So some were personal stuff, some is related to health part, but she didn't push me and cut me off even when I was sharing personal part. So I think she went in a direction where probably she's just trying to figure out the whole picture and
yeah.
not like making pre-assumptions, stopping me there and then when I
Mm,
say something that's not related to health, that actually in a full circle it is related to my health because it
yes.
forces uh, that emotional stress that causes certain symptoms. So in the end, I ended up crying a lot in her office, and
Mm,
she also shared. She gave her diagnosis, but she didn't give like a final diagnosis. She gave a summary, but and decided to do like different different approach. just to
Mm-hmm.
analyze further what's happening. So yeah, I think um, it was a really not easy journey, but I'm really really happy that I am where I am right now in this season of rest. I think it was very much needed at this point.
Yeah.
Even how would I say? It's actually kind of late. It should
Mm,
be much earlier, but I guess everyone has their different journey, and everyone is also learning um, where is their borderline or where is their limit. And
mm,
I think in this culture of hustling and getting the best, maybe even entrepreneurship and these modern days of finding ways to become the most successful person that you are or can be, achieving your dreams and all. I think I feel like there aren't enough conversations being talked about on how to or what are the journey that people go through, um, the not so fancy beautiful part, the of
mm,
going towards achieving your dream and fighting towards, or even
yeah,
the challenges in living in a foreign country. Because
yeah.
the things that we shared on social media, I guess you don't share a picture of you crying. No,
No,
normally
no.
you don't share your doctor appointments. A lot of times we tend to share more beautiful holidays pictures and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do agree that we have to somehow learn to be more vulnerable with one another because I feel like we're only helping each other if we are creating a community where we're just honest with one another through the highs and the lows instead of like thinking that life is a competition and everyone just has it better somehow. But through all of these social media, you actually don't see the full picture.
Hmm.
Mm, and yeah, this hustle culture, um, somehow, yeah, just not very healthy. But do you think that this is part of, is this something that the world goes through, or do you think it's an Asian culture? Is that something that we were used to growing up?
No, I actually think that it's not just Asia. I think there are a
Okay.
lot of I think it's more of like a, I wouldn't say generation, because actually every generation are being called to hustle. They just hustle a different way.
Yeah.
I bet like there are so many our older generations, they hustle even more, and they don't ref- they probably don't even find the time to reflect as much how they hustle through things. It's just that now with the advantage of having um, internet, that we manage to
Mm,
hear so much more stories throughout the world. And I realized that it's not a very, I wouldn't say it's a very Asian thing. It's more of like what is required in this society. It's being uh, attracted, that
mm,
this is your purpose, this is your goal, this is your dream, your
yeah.
yeah, it's being more into that direction, that you have to hustle to succeed. Uh,
Yeah.
um, and your goal in life is to achieve the best that you can, and to be the best version of
Mm,
yourself. And what is really the definition of success?
yeah.
Is it really that you are rich and famous and doing the things that you love, or must those things be impactful things, meaningful things? I don't know. There are so many different definition of what a successful people. Can a very simple life consider as a successful life as well? Who are the ones setting these definitions? And
Mm.
yeah, so I don't think it's an Asian culture. What about you? Do you think so?
um, I think I always thought that it was an Asian thing for a long time, just because I was comparing Asia and Europe. So I really noticed the difference in the cultures when I moved here, and then I realized that doing a master's degree here is not, or it wasn't as intense as I thought it would be. And I felt like I was struggling so much more in my bachelor's degree than my master's degree. And I also just came from Singapore when I moved here. And yeah, if you know what the Singaporean work culture is like, then you will know what I mean when you're stuck in the office for maybe 12 hours a day. And, that's life, like that's considered normal. And then compared to my working life here, it's like you're not even allowed to work more than 10 hours a day, and people just leave on the dot, or you don't even work 40 hours a week. You're allowed to work less. And somehow the values are very different because there's no, they don't really put value in money, I feel, because that's something that I grew up with at home. Like if you're going to work, then of course you're going to build your wealth. But I feel over here they value work-life balance so much more. And you do see that there's so much more um, quality to your life when there is balance, So it's not just about work, it's not just about money. But then I think looking at it from a larger scale, because there are different continents, there's the Americans, I feel, that also have a very similar culture to the Asian cultures where they're always hustling. So yeah, I think to a certain extent, yes, but not completely. Somehow, I think it is in our society um, that we are just trying to invest in things that might actually not be worth investing in. So it definitely is worth the time to just take a step back and really analyze and look at everything that you're doing in life and ask yourself, is it really worth it? And do I actually have the power to change this? Yeah. So, did you learn anything through this process?
Well, I think this process has only just begun, not so long ago. Um, you know, I would say the last 4 years, at least 4 years, that my life has just flew by. During my studies time, I used to really journal a lot, and that's when I do a lot of reflection. That helps me to process a lot of things. But I realized that now, in the last few years, I haven't been setting enough time to do that. At least from this 1 month, one thing that I've really learned is I need to stop preconditioning myself into doing things that I love. What I mean by that is, for example, recently I'm really into painting. I think
Mm,
I've always liked painting and I always enjoy it a lot. I don't know from when it started. Every time when my mind said, "Hey, I want to paint," that will be another voice to say like, "Hey, you still have this to do. You have still have that to do. You need to do the
mm,
laundry. You need to do all that." And then I precondition myself like, you need to finish this and this and this first before you're allowed to sit down and paint. During this season of rest, I could finally have all the time in the world, and that's when I question myself like, why do I have to first finish those things before I'm allowed to sit down and paint?
mm,
So um, I have to intentionally stop myself from preconditioning because it's such a habit of doing it.
right.
So I have to really sit down and think, this is what will makes me feel rested. Sitting down to paint in a quiet time with really soft mellow music in the background, looking through maybe a beautiful scenery that I've been before, and just sit down and processing those photos and choose a very nice picture to paint. And as I paint, I study and refeel the whole essence of me being there, um, absorbing the whole atmosphere. I think that is a very precious time for me and my body right now. So
Mm,
actually, if we look in a more logical way, that it should be in a higher priority.
mm,
I don't know if you ever heard of this segment, this method to find out what are the things that you should put on your to-do list. So
no.
there's this four section where you separate the first section. So you on a paper you draw a cross. So then there's a four boxes. So on the
Yeah.
left, right, you can write like things that are uh, important and urgent. And then
Okay.
on the right side, you write things that are important but not urgent. And then on the bottom, you write things that are urgent but not important. And then the last part, things that are not important and not urgent.
Mm,
So if you separate your things like that, you know, you will realize that there are actually a lot of things that we have been doing, filling our days with, are sometimes things that are not important and not urgent, but just
mm,
come easily. So for example, a friend inviting you, hey, I'm feeling not so well, I have some cravings, let's go do this and this. Or even like a random invitation from my husband, say, okay, let's watch this movie. So actually that segment could
mm,
be not urgent and not important, because we probably just watched a movie yesterday. So today it should
mm,
be the most important things to do. But then because it's easy and convenient, we tend to spend 2 hours doing it
mm,
because we didn't plan. But uh, things like, for me at this moment, that is important is really to sit down and have my quiet time to process it. And that should be the important and urgent thing to do. Urgent because it's affecting my health. Yeah, I think what I really learned through this process is to be more intentional in setting the priorities on my list, and to
mhm.
not precondition myself to do the wrong things.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a very valuable lesson. Although I would argue that spending time with friends is important, just not urgent, maybe.
No, no, no.
uh,
For me, it's definitely important to, don't get me.
yes, yeah.
It's just that sometimes I spend, for example, in
Mm,
a week, I could spend like 5 days with friends. And don't
mm,
forget that you yourself is also one of your most important friend.
yeah,
And I
true,
think I tend to
true.
neglect that too much.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. Um, and also for me, even if I am an introvert, because out of the two of us, I'm the introverted one, and I do definitely need a lot more alone time, but the social time is also important for me, especially because I am here alone away from home. So my friends are my family here. And I mean, first of all, quality time is one of my love languages, and then I do appreciate the time that I spend with my friends. But I do notice when my body is telling me, like, okay, now it's time to take a break. You need time alone. You're going out too much. You don't have any more social battery left. So I also think that that was one of the things that I had to learn to really look at my schedule and say, like, okay, I have to say no to this friend because I cannot fit it anymore in this week. Um, yeah, so it really is about setting boundaries as well, setting boundaries socially, and then also learning how to set boundaries at work as well. Because I think one of the things that made me very stressed at one point was taking on way too many responsibilities at work
Mhm.
in a language that I didn't feel comfortable in yet. Because I think architecture itself is already so demanding. And then to add on top of that, that you're working in a language that you just learned maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, that was just way too many responsibilities all at once. And then the funny thing is, like, I was at a point where I thought that I could take on more responsibility. So I went to my boss and then I asked him for more work, but then I didn't know how to tell him that enough is enough. And then I just kept getting more and more and more. And I really learned to say, okay, these are my boundaries. I cannot take on anymore. And actually have the courage to tell my boss that I have enough work or I have too much work and he needs to um, put the load on someone else. And yeah, that was actually hard. And I think it's hard partially because of the Asian culture that I grew up in, because I feel like you don't really learn to say no. And then also to say no and to communicate your boundaries to a boss, like someone that is older than you, someone that you're supposed to respect. So yeah, definitely uh, a cultural lesson there in Germany, something that we will talk about also in our other episodes. Um, and then the other thing that I learned is also to listen to my body so much more. I'm also used to I guess in a way, preconditioning myself. And I guess it comes from like this upbringing that you have to be disciplined in life. So in your week, you have to be physically active. Then, you have to work out 5 times a week, whatever it is, but you have to be active because you have a 9 to 5 job that makes you sit in front of the computer the whole day. But sometimes I am just tired. I'm just like really tired. And then also for us as women, it's hormonal. So there are times in the month when I'm just more tired than other weeks. And I think it's really important actually to just listen to your body when it's telling you that, hey, I'm a little overworked right now and I need some rest. And it's okay to just not go to the gym or not do something active today, because actually what you need right now is just to sit on the sofa and maybe watch something for a little bit or read your book and just take it easy. So yeah, it's a continuous learning process.
I think I still have a lot to learn when I hear what you have learned. I think you are many steps before me. I mean, like after me. Yeah, you are in front of me, because all the things that you say, I was like, oh yes, that I still struggle. Oh yes, I still struggle. I think I I really struggle to say no as well.
Mm,
Even especially to my friends, or I think to
mm,
anyone. It's really difficult for me to say no, not just in a working environment, but also to my close ones and even to strangers. I find it very difficult to say no. Uh,
yeah,
and yeah, so one step at a time. We have so much
yes,
to learn,
yes,
and it's good that we now have this. We are in this season where we can rest. I think before we can start talking about learning new things and um, trying out new things, we really first need to learn how to rest.
yes,
'Cause,
agree.
yeah, there's this Chinese saying like 休息是为了走更长的路, meaning like resting. The purpose of resting is so that you can go on a longer journey.
Oh,
So like when you go on a hike, you take rest so that you can continue on your journey.
right, right.
So rest is really, really important. Yeah, I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's why in the Bible it also says like why in the Genesis is already say that God rested on that day, so that he did nothing that day, because even if
Mm-hmm.
God needs rest, who are we?
Right, exactly.
I mean,
Yes.
superhuman that we can just function without resting? No.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even the definition, what is resting, that is a whole new concept. I realize. Uh, Always think that resting means sleeping,
Mm,
but sometimes sleeping is not the only rest our body needs.
right. It's true. Yeah. I love how we have that topic in the Bible, in Christianity, that we have to respect the Sabbath. And I think it's really a nice culture to integrate into life. It is very important. Um, yeah. So how have you been resting this season?
You know, um, it's such a difficult question for me. Like I said, this season has just begun and it's still a very new phase for me, a very new concept for me to figure out what to do every day and how to plan my days. Not how to plan, but more like how to spend my days. I don't even plan these days anymore. um, and on the first day of my free day, that's when it hits me. I am someone who really do not know how to rest. Seriously, just for that one day, because of, you know, even before in Germany is the like on your last day of work, normally you have to bring something that you bake. So
Yeah.
even the night before my last day, I was busy baking cake and doing so many things and even packing a lot. So because that's probably the last time that I'm going to be in my office, I have to pack so many things for the last 5 years. And I realized that there's just so much things to do. So on the very next day when I'm finally free, my body was actually super exhausted. But I'm the kind that are not used to sleeping throughout the day. So the
Yeah.
moment when the sun comes up, no matter what time I fell asleep, I will
Mm,
be naturally awake.
mm,
So the good thing with Germany is there's always like a jalousie where you can roll down, and so the room will be pitch black. That helps a little, but I think my body clock still realized that it's day now, you know. So that day I was so tired, I didn't do anything. But even when I just spent the day strolling around the house, from the bed to the couch to the bed to the couch, and just I realized that I wasn't really fully rested.
mm,
And I feel so bad because I feel guilty for even have rested. I don't know where this guilt come
mm.
from, but I guess it was just a habit to feel guilty about not doing anything that day.
Right.
So on the second day, early morning, I woke up as if I was going to work. I dressed up, took a shower, packed my bags full of things to do, and I took my bike and rode out to the riverside as if I was heading towards work. But of course, I didn't need to be in the office anymore. Instead of cycling to the office, I actually took some time, really cycling and enjoying the view as I cycle my daily path, and try to imagine it like I needed to rush to work, but now I can have the luxury of sitting at the bench that I always wanted to see when I pass by on my way to work.
Mm,
So I took the time to sit down and sit on that bench and just take it all in, this beautiful
yeah.
riverside, this beautiful city that I didn't have the time to process. And by finding spots like this and even just being out in the open in the nature, I found a really nice tree and I sat there for like 1 to 2 hours, just being happy and thanking God that for this time, I felt so much more rested than I felt at home. Um,
Mm,
yeah, so I think I really need to find out what are my way of resting, as in how do my body feel rested. So on that day, even when I came home, I was tired physically, but
mm,
mentally and emotionally, I felt so much more rested than the day before
mm.
when I was doing nothing at home. So I I guess going the way forward, I have to plan or more like spend the day in a balance, like you mentioned earlier. There's a different kind of balance for different things. And there are times where I need physical rest. That means really literal go to bed on time, having food on time, sitting down on time, not sitting down, sitting down and really let the body relax. But
Yeah.
there are also time where it's the mental stress
Yeah.
relaxing part, which is like being in nature, doing journaling and those and spiritual, reading the Bible, prayer, praising, that spiritual rest.
Mm,
Yeah, so I guess recently I have been trying to find a routine or find a way to balance all of these different kind of rest and
yeah.
really be more intentional in doing it.
Yeah. That's nice. It's nice that you're stepping into the season and learning all of these things. It's definitely very important.
Yeah, and the chest pain has already subsided a lot.
That's
Uh,
good.
and but sometimes when I'm not careful, when I when there are days where I tend to do too much again, and then it will
Mm,
starts to come again. Because
mm,
I think our body is really smart and it has been designed in a way to show sickness. It's just that whether we know the language or not.
right.
Yeah, I think this is a new language. Oh my gosh, we already have so many language. We still need to learn a new language. So challenging. But yeah, I think this is one new language that I have to learn this season. The body
Yeah.
language.
Yes.
What about you? How have you been resting? I think we had the same period of time of rest, no?
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
I
just
think very similar. Yeah.
maybe I have like 4 days more.
Yeah, I think so. Mm. It's also hard for me. I also don't know how to do nothing. And then I think this time around, because I feel like, wow, I have so much time, then it's like I fill it up with more things to do. So in the end, I don't know if I'm actually resting or not. But recently, I've been reflecting, and I think it has been a good few weeks and a good few weeks of me just filling up my time with doing things that I actually enjoy. And I think that's really been a luxury and something that I can be grateful for, that I just have all of this time to focus on a project that I actually want to focus on, then spend more time with friends. Because I also feel like sometimes when my week is very full and then I still want to meet my friends, I lack the energy to actually meet up with them and have fun with them. But just to have the luxury of time and energy to just, yeah, spend more time with them, I think that's been really nice for me. And I'm doing all the hobbies that I like doing. I'm doing more sports now. I'm just being more active. I also have more time and energy to read my books. And then when the weather was good, I was also out just enjoying the weather, going out to nature, going to the park, going to the lake. And so, somehow, like when you're filling up all of your time with the things that you actually really do enjoy, you feel more fulfilled. And somehow that fulfilling feeling also makes you feel more rested. So now it's also making me reflect, when I really go back to work, do I actually really want to work another full 40 weeks, 40 hours a week? Um, because I think, yeah, okay, maybe for some people, their financial demands, so they do have to, they don't have a choice, they have to work the 40 hours. But when you are given the luxury to work less and you don't put so much value on building wealth, and you just want more quality in your life and you want more balance in your life, then why not? Like, why not just work less and then have more time to do the things that you truly enjoy? And I think there's so much more value in feeling happier about your weeks and about your life in general than just working for the sake of working and seeing your bank account go up. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think you mentioned a really good point there because actually, who are the ones who set how you should work and how much money you should earn? I think we have we have been put in this fear, like,
Mm.
do you have enough to retire? Do
Mm.
you have enough to have a comfortable life? Uh, do you want to travel more and stuff like that? But then again, I think traveling or like doing things and enjoying things in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, 50s, and 60s is very different.
Mm.
So if like currently we are just focused on earning so much more so that we can enjoy and relax more in our 60s, uh, what if we don't reach our 60s?
Right,
Or
exactly.
even like we miss out so much in our 20s and 30s if we reject all the invitation on a trip, or even we put so much time in on our career, on our job, and then we miss out all the little things in life that would have
Mm.
brought us so much more joy in our
Right.
20s and 30s in compared to when we are in 60s. So I think um, the balance between, yes, we need to prepare for the future as well, and the balance between and the need to say like it's okay, this is enough for this moment, we can allow
Mm-hmm.
ourselves to have more fun. I think it's it's all our choice and up to us on where we draw the line,
Right. Yeah.
to set like, okay, this is the amount that I need for now. And even when it doesn't work out as we plan, it is okay. I think, yeah, we need to let go a little and not fear so much of the uncertain future.
Yeah.
Because no matter how much we prepare for it, it could be an entirely different future.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess it comes back to that question, when it comes to our faith and our beliefs, like where are you building your treasures? Is it here or is it in heaven? And yeah, I think that's also a guide, like something that can help you just reflect on all of the decisions that we are making today for our lives.
Mm,
Mm.
yeah, there's so much more to talk about, so much more to learn.
Yes,
But I think we are quite far in today. Uh,
we are.
so shall we end with one last question?
Yes.
So what are you trying next in this season of rest?
It's a hard question. It's a hard question because I feel like so many things are left unknown at the moment. Um, I'm gonna have an interview next week, and then it depends on how that interview goes. And then I don't know if my season of rest is actually coming to an end very soon, or if there's still gonna be a longer period of this season. And then I'm also going to be on vacation next month. So then, huh, like, what happens after I come back from vacation? Am I gonna follow this routine, or is life gonna look different? So somehow, just with that uncertainty, it's hard to say, but I think something I want to do intentionally, just to, hmm, yeah, I don't know, maybe to just make my time of rest a bit more exciting, is to just make sure that I'm intentionally trying something new every week, even if it's nothing super big. Maybe it's just trying out a new recipe, or visiting a place here in Munich that I've never visited yet. Yeah, and all of these little things, just to, I think I think because it's so easy when you're back to your routine to just go back to your routine. And then when you're in your routine, you're like, ah, okay, I don't have the energy to go to this place that I've never been to before or try out a new recipe because it's taking too much effort. But then now, because I have this opportunity and all of this time, then that's definitely something that I want to incorporate into my schedule.
Mm.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, I think for me, it's I still need to continue trying uh, to rest more. I think all the things that you say, exploring new things, going to new places, that I have been doing so much, a little too much in this season of rest. I visited so many
It's
friends
good.
over Germany in just this 4 weeks. I think I traveled. I really made that monthly ticket um, super worth it because I was traveling all the way down south and then all the way down up north, and I live in the middle. And then next week I'm going down south again.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, true.
so yeah, I think what I want to try is probably finding more how to say setting more blocks of time more intentionally as apart from doing things. So
Okay.
maybe I need to get to know myself better. Like I need to spend,
Mm.
not say need, but I really want to find ways to sit still and just breathe.
Mm.
And maybe do more reflection. Like one thing I really enjoyed was last week I was trying to not last week, last few days I was trying to organize all the photos that I've taken the past 7 years in Germany or in Europe.
Mm.
I've
Mhm.
been to so many trips, so many uh, adventures, and I guess all of those memories is I've collected so much of those memories, but I realized that I've never once looked back at all those photos that I have
Wow.
snap through. So I guess maybe that is why I really enjoy painting,
Mm.
because that's one way for me to process the things that I've done and been through, and the beautiful places that I've gone uh, to make sense of those things. Because I guess
Mm.
when we are at those moments and those places, we take it all in, but we hasn't processed it. This
Right.
reminds me of another lecturer that said, um, there's analysis, then there's also synthesis.
Okay.
So when you do an analysis, you analyze those things, and then you bring out all the questions, and then you get those answers. But the synthesis part is the more important, also very equally important, because the synthesis part is for you to think, what did you use this knowledge for? What could you use this
Mm.
knowledge for? So
Right.
you go to all this adventure experience, you travel to explore your mind, see new things, and then what? All this
Mm.
information is in you, but you're not processing it, you're not using it. Yeah, so I guess this is that one new thing that I would want to try to process more and to do this synthesis process.
Mm. That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see how our journeys unfold in the next few months. And then let's see in the next few months if we actually really put this into practice.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess in our next few episode, we will also be talking about related to this topic. Yeah, and
Yeah.
maybe we can have some friends over and just ask them also if they have been through and how do they see rest. Maybe we can bring us more ideas and ways of resting.
Yeah, I am excited.
Me too.
Thank you for joining us on Navigating New Ground.
We hope today's conversation gave you some insight, support, or just a reminder that you are never alone in this journey.
If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a comment, and share it with someone who might need it.
You can find and follow us on Spotify, Instagram, and Apple Podcasts.
Until next time, take care.